Hello and welcome to a review from Hellhound, and this week we're looking at the Micromaster Battle Squad, or what remains of it in the world of War for Cybertron Siege. And as you can see here, I've still got my original Generation 1 Micromaster versions of Direct Hit and Power Punch. So we can see a couple of comparisons between the two. So this is the Generation 1 version, released in about 1990 as part of the Micromaster Battle Squad, and that consisted of three large-ish, well, large for Micromasters, vehicles. This cannon, a Blackbird jet, and an anti-aircraft vehicle. And each of those comprised of two Micromasters, which could be then interchanged as required. This was a Decepticon set, and for War for Cybertron Siege, and also re-released for Earthrise, we get just the one pair: Direct Hit, who is the front half, and Power Punch, who is the rear half. And as you can see, very similar in design, but obviously modernised. So let's have a look at Direct Hit first. So what you can see is lots of the design cues have carried over. The modern Micromaster is slightly bigger, same sort of length, but quite a bit bulkier. So you can see lots of design features have carried over. Same colouring, but with the extra black and the silver, which looks pretty good. So to transform him, we'll do the new one first. So what we do is we unclip the arms, which allows us to unfold the lower legs. They can be separated, and we can flip the heels back, manoeuvre the arms a bit so you get a bit of clearance for them to be used, and then you can push the peg down, and there he is. So he looks pretty good. So we'll put him off to one side while I transform the original version, which is similar in that you need to manoeuvre the arms out of the way, and then that allows you to free up the feet, and then very awkwardly extract the head all the way, and there he is. So in robot mode, actually the original Micromaster is the bigger of the two. Let's get them both in shot for you. And again, you can see that some of the design cues have carried over. So you've got a visored face, yellow on the new version, orange on the old. You've got these large vents on the chest, and this sort of detailing between the two vents. These I don't know what you call them, but these elements on the thighs, and then the cab of the vehicle becoming the lower legs. The G1 version, very limited, well, I say limited, pretty decent articulation as far as G1's concerned. You can sit him down, you could sit him down on a chair. These are separate, but obviously you can't really use the lower legs to do anything independently, apart from perhaps a little bit of a walking pose. And then the arms can swivel most of the way around. There are some pieces that stop a 360 motion, but when you've got them at sort of right angles, they're above the head, which is a bit of a shame. In terms of new Direct Hit, you've got ball joints at the shoulder with a cutout, so you can get a 90-degree angle there, and you can also push up the joint with the ball joint slightly, but it does get restricted a little bit by the kibble on the back. You've got ball joints at the hip, which allow a pretty decent forward and back movement, slightly restricted kicking out to the side. And then you've also got ball joints at the knee, so again you can get some reasonable motion there, which is pretty good. Okay, let's put them onto the back there. Get in Power Punch. So again, in terms of size, Power Punch is slightly shorter. These are probably a little bit similar in mass. You know, there's not a lot of difference on these ones. So for the G1 Power Punch, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the legs, he says, which is sort of on this concertina, and that's it. And then we can adjust the arms. For our modern version, we're going to do similar sort of thing. We're going to unfold the rear to make the legs, flip them over, and then unclip the arms from the side of the body, and that allows you to free up again a bit of movement at the shoulders. So G1 version, basically you've got 360-degree spin at the shoulder, but again the arm is slightly high. Apart from the fact that the gun's in the way, well, actually you can't really do. You can bend him over at the hips, and that's about it as far as leg articulation is concerned. Modern version, we've got ball joints at the shoulder, but they are restricted, but you can still get a fairly decent sort of 45-degree angle. Got a nice, mostly unencumbered rotation. I think the head can be turned. Yep, as you can see by using tweezers, I can really struggle to get my fingers in there. We have got separate legs, so you can get him to kick out about that far, all the way forward, not all the way back unless you sort of kick the leg out slightly, and then on a hinge this time for the knees, so you can get a decent range of motion at the knee again, but you need to kick the leg out slightly, but not too bad. In terms of detail, again, yellow visored head on both version. We can see the chest detail is very similar, and then again the legs are slightly different. I think that's fine. What we have lost this time is we've lost these sort of blocks on either side of the head, which is quite interesting. These sections below we'll have a look at in a minute, these sort of round sections. So I always liked this Micromaster set. It was one of my favourites. I've still got 5 of the original 6 figures. I enjoyed them very much, so I was really pleased to get hold of the new Battle Squad, and hope that we get some of the other members of this particular team. Not quite sure who they'll remold these into, which I'm sure they will at some point. Possibly in the Autobot Micromaster set, there was a sort of rocket launching system, which this could be remolded into. So it might be nice to see them as that, and also like a satellite vehicle. They were both members of the Astro Squad, I think they were, so maybe we'll see them as those. I think as Micromasters, these actually are some of the better ones from Earthrise and Siege, in that they have far fewer constraints on the movement because of the transformation design, which I think is good, so a lot more fun to play with. There's also a weapons mode, as it were, so we just need to transform them back comes first, which is always, just really seem to struggle to get them lined up properly. It doesn't help when you're looking around the side of the camera either. There we go. So obviously this is a earthrise toy, so you can put a blast effect on the cannon, like so. I don't think there's any hard points for blast effects, no. So if you want to give it to a robot, what you do as a weapon, so yeah, so you can plug it into there as a rocket launcher, and your robot would hold it with this peg on the top of the cannon. It's highly unconvincing, and I really do hope that we're seeing the end of this Micromasters combining into weapons trend. Micromasters combining into a larger vehicle works well. Micromasters transforming into small vehicles, a la, you know, something like that, works pretty well. Micromasters doing any of those two things and also transforming into a weapon for a larger robot, it's just too much of an ask for a toy of this size. Anyway, as I said, I'm a big fan, I was a fan of the G1 versions of these toys. I'm a fan of the Earthrise. I think it is one of the best Micromaster sets we've seen so far, or certainly the ones that I've got, so I would give this a 4 out of 5. I hope you've enjoyed this quick review, and you can join me next time for another Hellhounds Transformers review.